Hey guys, today we're going to be making optical illusion art, and today we have an optical illusion tunnel. Optical illusion art was founded by Victor Vasarely. He worked in the 1900s, and he was kind of known as the grandfather of op art. Bridget Riley also was famous for her work in the mid 1960s. So for this project today, you are going to need a piece of drawing paper, a drawing pencil, maybe a Sharpie, a color pencil, your choice of color pencil or marker, or even shading pencils, just like the ones we used for your value project as well will work. I'm going to draw a dot somewhere near the center of my page, but it doesn't have to be in the center. And I'm going to draw a line going from edge to edge across through that dot. And I'm going to do this with 6 lines so that I have 12 sections of space or 12 triangles. I have to have an even number because if I don't have an even number of sections, that will throw off my pattern. And just as you work through this, double check, count up your sections, make sure that you have 12. Once I have my 12 sections of space, I'm going to begin working within one triangle, making curves that go in the same direction within that triangle. When I make another curve, I have to make sure that it follows the same curve as the one before it, because if it's too flat or if it's pulled too much about another curve, then it's going to throw off the 3D look to the image. So I'm following the same curve as the line before it. And I'm using those searching lines. I'm not just putting in a line and moving on. I'm trying to make sure that I am building that line that I want to have. Okay, once I have those curves going in the same direction, they are all turned facing the same way. The next section, those lines have to connect to the endpoints from that last section. However, these have to be going opposite. So whereas the other ones kind of were turned as if you had a smiley face, these lines are curved as if you have a frown face. And those endpoints are connected to each other. I'm also making sure that I am taking up about the same amount of space in between each line. Okay, I'm going to finish this up, and I'm only working within one triangle at a time. You don't want to really spin your paper around and just create wavy lines, because that might cancel the effect that you have in terms of that stopping at that straight line point. So go slow with this, take your time on your detail. And make sure you are paying attention and make sure that your line is the direction that it needs to go in at the curve that it needs to go in. Okay, once I have my pencil work down, I can begin going back over those curves with a Sharpie. Right now, I'm not concerned with my straight lines because I will be darkening those areas up with colored pencil here shortly anyways. So right now, I'm not concerned with those areas being dark. That's just something that I could do at the end if I chose to do so. But for right now, I am going in and outlining all of those curves, just to give some definition for the purposes of this video. Okay, if you notice that you skipped a line or anything like that, it's no big deal. Just go in, sketch that in. And notice when you're working within the edges and the corners of your paper, you do still want to make sure you take up that same amount of space that you've got going on. Just because it's getting cut off doesn't mean that you have to squeeze a line in there that doesn't fit there. Okay, here are some shading techniques that you can use for the project. This is marker with hatching. Just like on your values, remember that with hatching lines, the closer that they are together, the darker it will be, and the further that they are, the less lines you have, the lighter it will be. For this, I'm going to make sure that I have a highlight that's going through the center by leaving the center of my cone white. And that's going to act as if the light is hitting the top of your cone, and then the shadows are receding down around in the edges of the cone. And that highlight has to be going in the same direction. And I forward my marker when I'm trying to get it to go down the center. So I've got darker edges and white down the center. I am alternating between green and blue for my marker, but you could have left that section white had you wanted to. For the pencil shading, it's the same concept. However, for this, I'm going to be using scumbling lines, and I'm darkening the edges once again, leaving a highlight that runs through that center. For the pencil shading, I'm not going to go in and shade the ones in between. That one would be black and white. For the color pencil shading, it works similar to the pencil shading. However, you cannot erase, and you can use those alternating colors just like you did with the marker. I'm using scumbling lines once again with my colored pencil shading, and I'm trying to make sure once again that I have a highlight that runs through the center while darkening up the edges. When you're shading, try to get as good of a change of your values as you can around those curves of that cone, because that will be what helps give it that three-dimensional effect. Okay, I'm alternating with violet and true green and Prismacolor for the color pencil shading, and that will also be what I use for the project itself as well. So I'm going to work within one section of the triangle, and I'm alternating with my purple, and then I'll eventually put my true green in between that, just like on the shading practice steps. And I'm making sure that that highlight is going in the same direction. Same thing when I put in my true green, the highlight has to line up with the violet's highlight. Okay, once you have finished one section, when you move on to the next one beside of it, you're going to have an alternating pattern again. So where there was purple, right beside it has to be the opposite color, which in this instant would be the true green. Make sure you follow the line of your highlight. Wherever something gets lighter, that's where the one below it also needs to get lighter. I'm going to continue with that same pattern going throughout the entire project. And when I'm finished, I have a three-dimensional optical illusion tunnel, and that is all for today. So thank you.